Hey, today let's talk about replaceable mindset. Before we go further, let's take a look at this video.
This is a piece of advice I was given on the trading floor from the senior investor that I was working with back then. And his comment to me was, oh, wait, you're just starting out. Just make sure you are replaceable. I'm like, what do you mean? You mean irreplaceable, right? My English is not very good. You mean irreplaceable? I heard irreplaceable. He's like, no, just make sure that you're replaceable. Make sure nothing goes wrong when you go on holiday, and make sure that when new opportunities come up, you can be in a position to be elevated because nothing is gonna drop and nothing is gonna go wrong. And so that's somewhat counterintuitive in that, especially in an environment where things are difficult and markets can be tough, and the natural tendency is to build a moat around what you do and be very irreplaceable so nobody can touch me. But against that natural tendency, I really went out of my way to make sure that I am the most replaceable person on the team.
So this piece of advice I came across 2 years ago and it has stuck with me ever since. And recently I was being exposed to a similar concept, so I thought let's make a video about it, sharing why I believe this is the most sustainable way forward, both in career development and society as a whole. Being replaceable sounds wrong at first, right? Just like the reaction Wei Li had initially in the video. Because most of us are taught the opposite, right? We are told to become indispensable, to be the person with all the answers and have all the connections and everything. And to be fair, there's some truth to that, but over time I started to realize there are actually two stages of value creation. The first stage is creating something valuable, that is doing what you're supposed to do in your role, accountant doing accounting, sales doing sales, and so on and so forth. The second stage is making it accessible, and I would argue most of the value creation lies in the second stage. To better explain this, let's take a macro perspective through the lens of pharmaceutical industry. Take semaglutide for example. Novo Nordisk, after 20 years of research and enormous amount of capital to bring that drug to the market back in 2021. And from the angle of benefiting human race as a whole, right? Not in a business sense, but in a bigger perspective, when do you think it provides the most value to humanity? I would say the answer is after the patent expires, once generic drugs start entering the market at maybe 1/10 of the price. Because by that point, the drug becomes so accessible that almost everyone is able to get the benefits should they need it. So that's the example from the pharma sector. Once the original drug becomes replaceable by the generics, its value to the human race skyrocketed because the impact of the drug reaches far more people than the original company could ever reach alone. And I think knowledge works in a very similar way. Many people spend their careers accumulating expertise, specialized knowledges and experiences. That is the stage one, the creation stage. But some people stop there. They protect what they know because they believe their value comes from being the only person who can do something. The problem is that this creates dependency. A very good example of this is the NBA star Jaylen Brown, the 5-time All-Star and final MVP, just got traded from Boston Celtics to the Philadelphia 76ers a couple days ago. A lot of people are questioning why the Boston Celtics would trade away their best player. Well, I tell you why. Jaylen is such a good volume scorer. He can hit all kinds of tough shots in the clutch. That's why he was the final MVP in 2024. But the data shows Boston as a team actually scores more when Jaylen's on the bench. So how does this paradox happen where the team's best player has a negative impact on the offense? Well, one explanation is that Jaylen is a very good ISO player. So when he's on the court, everyone tends to just depend on him to score. And when he's off the court, the ball moves better and easier shots get created instead of the tough ISO shots. Kind of crazy, right? You can be the best at what you do and still play a negative role for the organization. So how do we fix it? Well, we circle back to topics, try to be replaceable. We document what we know, we teach others, we build systems, we create processes, we mentor people, we make our knowledge accessible. And what was once locked inside of us can now be used by many. At first glance, this might seem like we are reducing our value, but I think the opposite happens. When you spend all your time protecting knowledge, your value is tied to what you know. But when you share knowledge, your value becomes tied to what you created. You stop being the person who performs every task. You start being the person who enables others to perform those tasks. You stop building dependencies. You start building capabilities. So when I think about replaceable mindset, I don't see it as making ourselves less important. I see it as creating something valuable, then making it accessible. Just like the patented drug eventually reaches the greatest impact when it becomes available to everyone. So yeah, that's my thinking on the replaceable mindset. Until next time, peace.